Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race and Strategy Guide. I find myself in a somewhat odd position of getting up nice and early on Christmas Day morning to get this video very quickly put together. So, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Thank you very much for all the support that people have shown me over the year. Hope you have a lovely day, and I think we've got a nice little Christmas surprise here because everybody thought it was going to be Catalonia, including myself this week for Daily Race C, but it happens to be we're actually heading off to Circuite de Sainte Croix, or Sainte Croix, depending on how you say it, and I think that's going to be a nice little Christmas present because everybody has been wanting this track for a very long time. We're in the Group 3 machinery, we've got 5 laps to get around, we've got tyre wear at ×5, fuel at ×2, just the racing soft tyres available. There is a mandatory pit stop in there, BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, and slipstream is real. And yeah, as I said, I got up nice and early on Christmas morning and jumped into the 7 o'clock race here to very quickly put this video together for you folks out there. So, Circuite de Sainte Croix is a very long track, it's got some very long straights on it indeed, so you're going to look for a car that has got good top end. Now, we've picked the Toyota Supra, but I think there's probably a better car out there, going by the initial race that I have done, and obviously this is subject to change as people learn the combination better, but I think the 4GT, the test car, the Spec 2 test car is going to be the superior choice for this one, and we do actually have one of those cars in pole position. I can't remember exactly what 4GT it is, there is 2 of them. It's the one that was very quick at Deep Forest obviously, but I think that's going to be a very strong car for this combination. It's got very good top end, not quite as good maybe through the corners as the Supra, but the top end of that car is going to be very advantageous around this track indeed. So as this race gets underway, we're starting down in 4th place into the first braking zone. They probably gave that GTR a little bit of a fright. We did manage about a lap and a half's worth of practice before we went into this race, and yeah, I was expecting it to be a little bit chaotic. I didn't think too many people would have done too many laps around here. It's not a track that's very often used, so people maybe not quite sure where they're going. We get a little bump from the 4GT behind us that allowed us to go for the move down the inside. We get the car stopped nicely, leave a little bit of space on the exit, and the TCR driver kind of hits the side of us as they maybe didn't quite realise that we had got better traction out of the corners. I think they're in a Mitsubishi Evo, which is a very interesting choice indeed. So up into P2, we've got Cheesy up ahead of us in the 4GT, friend of the channel. Nice to see Cheesy in this race. Now, I want to just demonstrate the difference between the Supra and the 4GT coming onto this very long straight. So we actually got a slightly better exit than Cheesy coming onto this straight, and we're going to lose around about 2 tenths by the time we get down to the braking zone. So it's not a massive difference. The Supra can definitely hold its own with the 4GT, but I think pretty much every other Group 3 car is just going to get annihilated when it comes to these long straights. But the Supra and the 4GT are fairly evenly matched, with the 4GT just having that advantage. I do think the Supra will be better at certain other parts of the track, like the last section we have just came through here. So coming to the end of lap 3, I did notice that my rear left was looking a little bit second hand, so we're going to come into the pits at the end of lap 3, and I'm actually going to take on a fresh pair of boots. Now the car will definitely do 5 laps on the soft tyres, but I just kind of thought, it's a long track, there's a lot of corners, there's a lot of traction zones. I think a fresh set of tyres might be a little bit better than staying on the worn tyres. So into the pits we come, get those tyres changed, and we are stationary for 4.6 seconds. Now I did check somebody else that was streaming to check the time difference between changing the tyres and not changing the tyres, and a car that doesn't change the tyres will be stationary for 1.7 seconds. So the difference between changing the tyres and not changing the tyres is 2.9 seconds, and overall that's going to make your pit loss 18 seconds to change the tyres and 15.1 seconds to not change those tyres. So jumping forward here to the end of lap 4, Cheesy is going to come into the pits, and what you're going to see here is that, and I suspected obviously because he was pitting on lap 4, Cheesy is not going to change the tyres. Now when we came into the pits we were 3.6 seconds behind Cheesy, and coming down into the braking zone at turn 1, that gap's coming down. Obviously we're carrying more speed at this point. Coming into the braking zone, that's going to be 4.9 seconds, and by the end of the race it was down to 2 seconds. So We actually closed the gap between when we made our pit stop and the end of the race with the fresher tyres. We actually managed to close that gap down. Now, it's an interesting one because it's very much on the cusp between changing the tyres and not changing the tyres, because 3 seconds is quite, it's quite a bit of time to give up, but I do think, you're much faster towards the end of the race. And as we take a look at Cheesy's tyres here at the end of the race, you can just see how worn they are. So he was definitely losing a lot of time over those last 2 laps, and he actually probably lost more. We probably gained, including the 2.9 seconds that we lost for changing the tyres, we obviously gained in about another 1.5, so we actually gained around about 4 seconds with the fresh tyres over the non-tyre change. So, interesting one, very similar to last week's race at, where were we last week? Interlagos, where there is, there's clearly 2 different ways of doing this race. It's a tyre change or it's a no tyre change. Now, if you're not changing the tyres, then you obviously have the flexibility to pit on any lap you want. You can pit at the end of lap 1, you can pit at the end of lap 4, you can pit lap 2, 3, depending on your race circumstances. But you're definitely going to be suffering with the tyres towards the end, going by the evidence of this race. If you do change the tyres, then you obviously want to be maybe pitting on lap 2 or 3 to get the benefit of those fresh tyres. It will cost you 2.9 seconds in the pits, but you are going to be significantly faster towards the end. So very similar to last week's race at Interlagos, where the 2 strategies will converge on each other towards the end of the race, with the tyre changers being faster and starting to put the non-tyre changers under pressure as the race comes to a close. So interesting stuff indeed, should be good fun. I do find it interesting myself personally that they kind of seem to have stopped these multi-tyre compound races. Maybe they understand that when you have the harder compound or a harder 2 different compounds, that the harder compound pretty much becomes useless due to the way the tyre wear model works, whereas these single compound tyre races actually do work quite well in inducing some strategy. Wonder if there's maybe a tyre wear model change coming in the future to actually make these multi-compound tyre races a little bit more interesting. But yeah, that's my thoughts for this one. Should be good fun. Looking forward to getting stuck into this on Boxing Day properly. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully the video's been useful in some way, shape or form. Have a lovely day today, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.